For 13 years, millions of people tuned into Animal Planet every week to watch one woman do something nobody else on television was doing. She wasn't flipping houses or competing in elimination rounds. She was pulling broken animals out of shelters and giving convicted felons a reason to keep going. And then, just like that, the show was gone. No scandal, no dramatic exit, no final wave goodbye, just gone. So what actually happened to Tia Torres? The answer is messier, more inspiring, and more complicated than most fans ever knew. Long before the cameras, before the rescue center, before any of it, Tia Torres was just a kid growing up in Southern California, with a broken home and a stepmother who believed animals deserved better than the world gave them. Her father wasn't in the picture. Her biological mother was gone early. The woman who raised her was the one who taught her that if you earn the loyalty of an animal, you have something no person can take from you. Tia took that seriously. So seriously that when she left home at 17, she didn't go alone. She left with 2 Arabian horses, an Angora goat, and a Catahoula leopard dog. That tells you everything you need to know about who she was before fame ever found her. She spent time with a street gang in her early 20s. By her own admission, she was in situations that should have killed her. Gunfights, police run-ins, all of it. Something clicked eventually, and instead of going deeper into that world, she walked out of it and walked straight into an army recruitment office. She scored high enough on her entrance exams that recruiters pushed her toward a medical track. She ignored that and became a truck driver for infantry troops instead, serving 6 years in the military before returning to Los Angeles. From there, the city of LA hired her as a youth gang counselor, sending her into the housing projects and drug houses to talk sense into the same kind of people she used to run with. That background, the military discipline, the street knowledge, the borderline life she'd already lived, was exactly what made her so effective with Parolees later on. The pit bull obsession started at an LA animal shelter with a brindle dog that had been confiscated from the scene of a double homicide. The dog got loose inside the shelter and ran straight to Tia's daughters. That was it. She was done for. By 1999, she had teamed up with Los Angeles Animal Services to launch a free resource group for pit bull owners. Spay and neuter help, training, anything pit bull related. That group swelled to thousands of members over 11 years and directly gave birth to Villalobos Rescue Center, named after the Spanish phrase for Village of Wolves. The first parolee hire happened through a parole officer's suggestion, and word spread fast. Before long, Tia was running a full operation, dogs, ex-convicts, and a staff that the rest of the world had written off. Production companies came knocking, and she turned them all down. She was a private person and wanted nothing to do with television. Then the donations dried up, and she ran out of options. In October 2009, Pit Bulls and Parolees premiered on Animal Planet, and within a few seasons it had become the longest-running reality series the network had ever produced. What the cameras mostly avoided was the man Tia had married on Halloween night in 2006, Arn Marcus Jackson. She had actually first encountered him back in the 1980s. She was trying to track down the owner of a pit bull she'd rescued, used an online search, and his name came up. At the time, he was serving a 14-year prison sentence for a shootout with Orange County Sheriff's deputies. She kept in contact. When he got out in 2006, they got married while dressed as vampires. Classic Tia. Less than a year later, Arn was arrested again. 11 felony charges this time: second-degree burglary, grand theft auto, attempted murder, and more. He was found guilty on all counts and sentenced to 15 years and 8 months. For years, Tia stayed loyal publicly, while privately the marriage was quietly dissolving. In July 2018, she finally told fans on Facebook the truth she'd kept to herself. She'd been divorced for years. Her tone wasn't heartbroken. It was more like someone who'd been asked the same question one too many times and decided to just end the conversation. She mentioned wanting a spin-off called Date My Dog. If you could get past Lucky, you had a shot. Arn was eventually released in 2022 and stepped entirely out of public life. Tia, for her part, said she didn't even know whether he was out and didn't particularly intend to keep tabs. Meanwhile, the rescue itself was going through its own near-death experience. Back in California, Tia had lost her entire personal savings trying to relocate VRC to a small town called Tehachapi. Permits approved, money spent, plans made, and then Kern County reversed course at the last possible moment and denied permission. Everything she'd put in was gone. She pivoted fast. New Orleans had been pulling at her since Hurricane Katrina. She'd felt something there on a visit that she described as almost magnetic. So she did the most Tia Torres thing imaginable. She packed up over 200 dogs, her kids, Her parolees, her staff, converted a motorhome into a dog transport vehicle, used a school bus, and made 8 cross-country trips. On January 1, 2011, she arrived in Louisiana with the last group of dogs and called it home. VRC set up in the Upper 9th Ward of New Orleans, with satellite locations spread across southern Louisiana. The show got bigger, the rescue got bigger, and the problems got bigger right alongside them. In 2015, a lawsuit landed that threatened to financially destroy everything Tia had built. A woman claimed she had been assaulted by one of the parolees featured on the show, at a bar Tia owned, and the lawsuit swept up VRC, the production company, and Tia personally in its wake. The accused parolee denied everything and called the allegations defamatory. Tia was furious, not because she wasn't taking the claim seriously, but because suing the rescue center meant the dogs paid the price. VRC was forced to close 2 satellite locations and consolidate operations just to survive the financial hit. Then came 2018 and a different kind of disaster. Tia had opened her doors to a struggling Detroit area pit bull rescue, giving them space to house their 50 to 60 dogs temporarily. When that group was eventually forced out after what Tia described as a catastrophic falling out, they left behind a scene she called the worst she'd seen in 30 years of rescue work. Dead animals, filth, destruction. And they took 5 of Tia's dogs on the way out. She pursued the case legally but was placed under a gag order for over a year, forced to stay silent while the story circulated publicly. When the gag order was lifted, she went on Facebook Live with the full story. The stolen dogs were recovered, and the other group faced animal cruelty charges in Michigan. Even the Torres family name made headlines for the wrong reasons in 2020, when adopted son Kanani was involved in a serious motorcycle accident. Rumors spread online almost immediately that he had died. He hadn't, he survived and recovered, but the fact that the rumor traveled as fast as it did showed how closely the internet had been watching this family. Then came the end that nobody inside the show saw coming. In October 2022, the season 19 premiere was announced not as a milestone but as a finale. The explanation Tia gave fans was blunt. Warner Brothers had acquired the Discovery and Animal Planet networks, and the consolidation that followed had taken out a long list of shows. Pit Bulls and Parolees was one of them. It wasn't a ratings problem, it wasn't a falling out with the network. It was corporate restructuring, pure and simple, and it had happened to dozens of shows at once. Tia described the network as having left them in a lurch. The final season ran through November 2022. After 19 seasons and more than 200 episodes, it was over on traditional TV. But if anyone thought Tia Torres was going to accept that as the ending, they didn't know her. Before the final episode even aired, she had already launched her own online platform called The Rabid Reality. She described it as her version of Netflix, a direct-to-fan network where people who'd been watching for years could keep watching, and where every dollar subscribers paid went directly back to the rescue. The spin-off show she created for it, Life with the Underdogs, is essentially the same format as Pit Bulls and Parolees. Same rescue, same people, same purpose, just produced and distributed on her own terms. She also launched a podcast and a Patreon community, building out a direct connection to the audience that no cable network can ever take away. Villalobos Rescue Center continues to operate in New Orleans and across southern Louisiana, with a separate facility in northeast Texas dedicated specifically to wolf dog mixes. The monthly operating costs run over $45,000, and Tia is still out there finding ways to cover it. The real story of Tia Torres isn't that Animal Planet walked away from her. It's that she spent 30-plus years building something on the premise that the people and animals everyone else discards are the ones most worth fighting for. And when a corporation made a business decision that cut off her platform, she built a new one. The show ended, the mission didn't. And for a woman who once left home at 17 with 2 horses and a goat and refused to look back, that was probably never even a question.